Welcome back, peeps. My name is Chad Wilson from Simple Cloudware, and today we are going to be talking about the future. So what is the next big thing? That's something that's always on everyone's mind because we've seen that the billion-dollar companies were born out of a revolution. And then you ask yourself a question, how do I create such an app or idea that is a part of the next thing? People always answer with confidence, this is what's going to happen in the future. But the reality is no one actually knows what's going to happen, and more importantly, when. And if you look at the major startups that then transform themselves into billion-dollar companies, there is nothing special about them except timing. And there are several articles and TED Talks that talk about how timing is the primary factor when it comes to one of these huge tech companies exploding or an idea exploding. And so how then do we get ready for the next generation when, one, we don't know what it is, and two, it's impossible to predict? What we do know is that the next revolution is created by putting things together that already exist. Now, what are a couple examples of this? Well, the first one is a smartphone. Now, we're 10 years into the smartphone, but what did it really look like before it? Well, I can tell you that I was working on a project on what was called a pocket PC that had no internet connection and no text or cell capabilities. And what we did is we created a mock-up of what the future would look like. And what did that mock-up on this pocket PC have on it? Well, it had things like purchasing movie tickets online and the equivalent t-shirt and cap. It also showed the device being internet connected, even though it had no ability to access the internet. At the same time, we were moving to the 2G, really the 2.5G, for data connection on your Blackberries. And I don't know if anyone remembers the Blackberries, but it was a phone that allowed you to check your email and make calls. And what this 2.5G gave us the ability to do was actually download and view pictures because it had enough capability. And when you can do text and pictures, you can access the internet. So we had the combination of the Pocket PC, enough data to deliver the internet in a browser, and a wildly popular device called the Blackberry that gave you access to your email. So Apple combined all three of these together into the first generation iPhone. So all the tech was there. Some of it was emerging, like the 2.5G network, and together it created a whole new product. And you go, okay, well, is this just one example of emerging technology? No, there are several. Another example of this is the internet. Now you go, okay, the internet was around since the 60s. That was true, and I can remember going into the computer lab at college and getting on the internet, but it was just so boring. All it was university professors putting up their papers and exchanging ideas in text. So why did the internet take off? Well, it was a combination of three things. One, AOL at the time had built out a nationwide system for connecting people. And HTML 1.0 came out, which gave you forms and images. And then the third thing was the invention of the ISP. And you go, oh, what is ISP? It's Internet Service Providers. And they popped out of nowhere to compete with AOL, and they gave you access to the internet and your home. So you had a 14.4 modem. It was a modem that you were able to connect to your phone line that was powerful enough to display images off the internet. And we all had this because we were all on American Online, and it was more image-based. So we had all of these things set up in a way that the internet was going to explode because as soon as we freed ourselves from these private networks like AOL onto the World Wide Web where anyone could put up anything. And for a long time, I was actually hosting websites on my local computer before the ISP shut all of that down. So anyone that had a computer and a connection to the internet could put anything up there. And it was kind of the wild, wild west. And that emergence of local telephone numbers with a 14.4 modem, HTML 1.0 with the form and images, and cheap long distance rates created the explosion that we've seen of the internet in the 1990s. What's coming online right now that we can start to look at to understand the next revolution? Well, there are three things. The first thing is a worldwide distribution of software gives us the ability to create apps on a global level, where before it was locally tailored apps, and you see most of the time you're buying an app that's in your language and it is sold in a store that you've downloaded in your country. The second thing is a worldwide cloud, which means that we have ultra cheap access to deliver content on a global level. Now, this was never possible because before this, we had our information stored in the country in which we wanted to display it, which means that it was highly expensive to think about this on a world or global level. Now, with the AWS Cloud and the Azure Cloud, we have worldwide distribution with the click of a button. The next emerging technology that's coming online is the 5G network. And this is being built out on a global scale, which means now we have apps worldwide, we have the ability to serve content worldwide, and we are going to have billions of people on a high-speed network with their smartphones. And we think that all three of these things combined is going to create something new. In essence, an individual has the ability to accomplish something that only multinational companies have been able to do in the past. If you think about Coca-Cola or Microsoft, they're the only ones that have been able to handle delivering either a product and service across multiple cultures in multiple languages. Now, the infrastructure is there for an individual to do exactly the same. And that's revolutionary. And you go, okay, what are these apps going to look like? This new generation of apps. Some ideas. Think of an app in which you can distribute your content in 100 different languages across the earth. Or what if you would like to sell a product and you lived in South Africa to an individual in South Korea? Now, right now, this individual to individual connectivity doesn't exist, or it's very challenging. But I think this new generation set of emerging technologies is going to unlock that personal level communication and exchange on a global level. So where does Simple Cloudware fit into all of this? We are creating foundational pieces for you to use in your application. So we're not solving the issue of creating the next awesome app. We're giving you the ability to focus on the features that you want to create that app, and we're going to take care of all of the mundane work. And what does that look like? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is accounts. And accounts are just a tricky business to get set up on your own, because not only do you need to deal with login, password reset, but you need to track what is happening with each individual in your app. The second thing that we're solving is toggling. So if you think about designing a worldwide application, you need the ability to switch out content layout, and even the visuals per culture that's consuming it. And we give you the ability to do that. The third thing is content management. So when you're developing an app for just one culture, one language, you can embed the content, the text, the menus, these sort of things. But when you need to design something for a multinational audience, you need the ability to switch content on and off for particular areas, particular regions, and for particular languages. The next thing that you're going to need when you build your worldwide app is the ability to do advanced form collection. When you need to collect an address in Norway, you need the ability to not just do the validation that there are numbers and letters in the form, but that it is an accurate address. And we give you the ability to look up that address and pre-fill that address worldwide. The last thing that we do is when you have an app on a global scale, you need the ability to monitor it. So that is log any errors that are happening anywhere in the world, to ping to make sure that people in South Africa can see it, or if people in Hong Kong are having a slowdown on the content. You also need the ability to track per region what is being seen and used. So for example, some of your content might be very popular in Great Britain, but doesn't do well in Nigeria. So you need the ability to understand what's happening all across the earth with your app. So here at Simple Cloudware, we don't know when or what is going to happen in the future. However, we are creating a foundation to help support this entire community in creating that next global application. We are laser focused on Emergence. And you go, okay, what is Emergence? It's taking things that already exist or just about to come online and combining them together to make something new, something revolutionary. And we believe this is where the future lies. One of the defining factors of the future is going to be a community of people that are building it together. It's not going to be these multinational companies, but it's going to be a group of like-minded people putting something together that is amazing, that creates the next generation of technologies. And remember, keep your head in the cloud.